Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my bedroom in the great state of Kansas. And as you see, I'm wearing the Real Talks with Ryan T-shirt. I've got the Real Talks with Ryan hat, and I'm here with Real Talk with Ryan
Hey, hey. Thanks for having me on, man.
here in the flesh. So, how you doing?
Doing great, man. I hope you're doing well as well.
Yeah, it's really nice and hot here in Kansas. I'm sure it is in Florida. It's
Oh
in the
my gosh,
90s over
dude.
here.
Dude, the heat index is like 115. It's
Oh my gosh.
crazy.
But I'm sure everybody's going to Florida this time for vacations and stuff. So I'm sure it's like
Oh yeah.
even more people than normal.
Always.
Got Mike here. Hey,
What's going on, Mike?
good to see Mike. Because I just talked to Mike actually about Toy Story was my last one,
Yeah.
and I kind of mentioned Shrek in that one, and that's why I kind of like want to talk about Shrek because of the changing of animation during this period. It's really almost like we're kind of almost like kind of got into this golden age of animation. It seems like
Oh yeah.
uh, during this time period with Pixar booming. I mean, Pixar is just putting out some of the best stuff, and DreamWorks is just now getting into like at this period of time. DreamWorks is really just trying to get into the game of animation, and you still have Disney animation still going on as well. And Sky Blue, I think, is also starting to compete as well during this time anyway. So it kind of went from Disney animation, kind of basically had a monopoly on animation. It's like nobody could compete against Disney. And then all of a sudden, we had all these other animation studios kind of crop up at this time. Um, and this we're talking about Shrek in this video, which came out in 2001. Um, I, I was a senior in high school around that time, and of course, I remember seeing it in the movie theater. Where were you when this movie came out,
So
Ryan?
I was just entering middle school. So
So
I was 11.
you're at a good age for this movie then.
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't even remember though if I saw it in theaters though. I
Okay.
can't remember, but I can tell you I've seen the movie probably like 2 dozen times at least. I've seen the movie so many times. It's to the point where even with your last movie, Toy Story, where I have memorized the lines in the movie, it's that much that I've watched it. So,
Oh
um,
yeah,
but growing up, I did watch a lot of kid movies in general. So I would imagine I had to discover it somewhere along the line. If I didn't see it in theater, I'm sure I saw it around that period of time,
probably
like
shortly
middle school.
after.
Yeah. So, but I've always had a love for Shrek, so I was glad that you invited me on for this.
Yeah, so it's interesting Shrek coming around. And I put in this is my I call it the game changer series because uh maybe not as much as Toy Story, but I still feel like this movie definitely was a game changer in animation and influential. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure. I mean, because growing up, like we had a lot of Disney movies, so it was like a lot of cartoon, and then you had like Toy Story and this, where the animation just completely changed. And you're like, whoa, like this is something way different than what we're used to. We're used
Mhm.
to like the hand drawn animation, and then now you got computers involved, and it's evolving, and it's like, wow, like this stuff is like really coming to life on screen. So it was so cool when this came out because
Yeah,
it's something really fresh and unique.
I agree. I remember I'm trying. I remember trying to think back. I think this is now 25 years old. I guess it'd be 25th anniversary now.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think that was 25 years ago. So I'm trying to think 25 years ago. My memory is that it was a very hyped up movie. Everybody was very excited about it, and it obviously did very well in the theater. And was a huge hit, and launched DreamWorks to making more movies like this and more, not only Shrek movies, but started a bunch of other franchises and stuff like that. So to me, it was just a very big monumental film that everybody talked about. That's the thing. I feel like when that movie came out, we all talked about it. Like, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
it was one of those water cooler, movies that come out, and you're just like, did you see that movie? Like, you remember that scene? And uh, stuff like that. And so I think pop culturally it just was everywhere. Merchandise, you know, spin-off shorts, everything
Oh yeah.
uh, coming from this movie. Um, Mike here. Um, the weather in the UK has been not been hot lately. Sorry,
Hmm.
it's been awful around 24 degrees, which is 75. Okay,
Yeah, that's really hot for them.
I said it doesn't sound too bad to me, but I guess that's hot.
Yeah, because he was telling me that they don't have AC units kind
Right.
of like how we
Yeah.
do here, so it's a little bit
Yeah.
different. And he's like, "Yeah, I had to get a fan." I'm like, "Dude, I'm having a fan every night." Even in the wintertime, like I'm still having it. So,
Me too.
um,
I love
you know,
fans here.
yeah. So,
I love AC.
oh yes.
um, so talk a little bit about the who's in this movie and who made it. It's directed by Andrew Addison and Vicky Jensen. Andrew Addison is very interesting. He's from New Zealand, and this was kind of his first big movie that he directed. He ended up directing Shrek 2 as well, and Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. So he had three pretty big movies. Um, and then he kind of, I don't know if that was like the biggest stuff he did. And then he kind of disappeared at some point as a director. I think he's just been kind of more of a producer guy after that, which is kind of crazy because, I mean, you're talking about three huge hits like right in a row.
Yeah.
And this guy, and so I don't know why he didn't become a bigger thing as far as that's concerned. I didn't see much about Vicky Jensen, but it was written by Ted Elliott, Terry Rossio, who you might have heard those names. I knew it right away because I knew they wrote Pirates of the Caribbean, uh, the Black Pearl, which was a huge hit when it came out around the same time as this. Actually, it's pretty close. And they wrote something else, and I've forgotten top of my mind. They wrote something else that was a big hit. So they had a couple of big hits, or will be under the name. So two pretty big names there. And then also Joe Stillman, and Roger S.H. Schulman, which I don't remember if I saw much about what they wrote, but so four writers overall. So I think I went through a lot of writing from one of my research because they started this in 95. I guess I'll get more into the history here, but they started kind of developing the movie in 95, but it didn't come out until 2001. So I think I went through a lot of writes and rewrites and and all kinds of stuff through this. But it's based on a book called Shrek by William Steig. So this was a children's in 1990, I believe. It came out. It was a children's picture book in like 1990, and I don't remember as a kid myself. I mean, I was fairly young at that point, but I don't know if it's a huge series or anything like that. But anyways, that's where it's kind of. And I think it's very loosely based on the book. I don't know much about the book, but I got a feeling they probably just took the kind of general idea and then added a lot to it and a lot of different characters and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
say I think they did because when I was watching kind of the special features, they talked about how they were gonna do the design for Shrek and Lord Farquaad, and they had
yeah,
like over 50
yeah, they
designs
have a bunch of
for
different.
both the characters. So
That's right.
they
Yeah.
definitely did it from scratch and stuff too. So
So
they definitely worked on it for a while.
yeah, it's an adapted. So I mean, it's considered an adapted screenplay, but yet at the same time, very original. I think as well. I think it still has a kind of original idea to it, even though it's adapted and all that. I think because as a children's picture book, it's not gonna have much plot to it. Probably they had to probably have a lot plot to the storyline to make it into a full length feature film and all that. Um, of course, stars Mike Myers as Shrek, Eddie Murphy as Donkey, Cameron Diaz as Princess Fiona, and John Lithgow as Lord Farquaad. Those are kind of the four main. As I was thinking about it, really the only four main characters in the whole movie. There's a lot of other different, probably I suppose, voices and stuff like that, fairy creatures, and but not a lot of main characters. Um, the music's by Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell, which I thought was very interesting because I know I've heard both of those names before. Harry Gregson Williams also did the score for Chronicles of Narnia, and I thought good score in both Shrek and Chronicles of Narnia have good scores. And John Powell went on to do the score for How to Train Your Dragon, which is one of my favorite. movie scores of all time. I absolutely love that score of that movie. Anyway, so really cool that they had those two kind of combined for the music. And the music was very good in this movie, and I
Oh
believe
yeah.
it got nominated as well. So um, I'll get to that. I know I wrote down somewhere but what got nominated, but uh, and one of the interesting things I think is the budget was $60 million, and worldwide it made $494.3 million. So interesting. When we look at, I was talking about Toy Story. Was Toy Story's budget was like $30 million. So this is like twice the budget of Toy Story. And Toy Story made like a little over $400 million. So this 60 to the, and you have to count that there's going to be more money for marketing and stuff like that. So you can say, let's say they spent $100 million. Well, they made almost $400 million on the on profits. That's pretty good. That's what you want to see. uh,
Exactly.
you want to try to not spend too much money, I think, on budget, and then make just a bunch of money. I
Yeah.
feel like today studios are spending like two, 300, $400 million maybe or more on the budget, and then they might make that in the, if they get lucky. Sometimes they don't even get to that in the box office. Like, let's say Supergirl. I don't know how much money they spent on it, but I doubt they made their money on that movie.
Yeah.
Um, that seems like that happens a lot today. It's just like, man, they're spending way too much money and not getting the profit out of it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's very true.
Yeah, so I always look at that. Not just at the box office, but also what they spent. That's where you kind of get what how successful the movie was.
Yeah.
Um, so saying that, it was a very very successful movie. It did very very well. In fact, it was fourth overall that year worldwide in its box office. And I looked at what beat it. It was a pretty good year of movies. I was like, holy cow, when I looked at, because I was thinking about what happened. Do you know what came out this year? Do you remember?
I honestly have no idea.
Well, number one was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone,
Oh
which
man.
almost made $1 billion back in 2001. It made 900 and some $1 million. I mean, it was humongous. um, Number two was Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. So again, it made like 700 or something. I don't know. It made a bunch. It was way up there in the millions. I mean, you're talking about two huge, the beginning movies of huge franchises,
Oh yeah.
and fantasy too, big fantasy projects that really did well. And then number three was Monsters Incorporated, which was the Pixar movie.
Wow.
So it's interesting, and that made like it made like 500. Let me see. I think I wrote down. It made 579 million. So almost made the 100 million more than Shrek. I mean, tell you how popular that movie was too. And I would say I like Monster Incorporated a little bit better than Shrek, but
Mhm.
Monster Incorporated is one of my favorite movies, animated movies of all time. So pretty good competition right there. And this came in fourth anyway, so that's pretty good. I was like,
Yeah.
because I'm like, if you come in fourth and those are the three ahead of you, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's a hell of a year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't think we. I was like, man, I don't think we get years like that very often, where you have
Yeah.
absolutely monster hits and critical favorites and Oscar type movies. All coming out. Yeah, because it's hard to get a movie that makes that audience love, gets great critical review, and also gets nominated for awards. It just doesn't happen as much. I don't think like it did this part.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I thought I was interested because I was like, huh, it made $494 million, which, again, this is 25 years ago, inflation, all that changes everything. But uh, what did Shrek 2 do? I was kind of curious, so I looked it up just to see. Because sometimes I was thinking, like, I'm sure after the first movie was popular, when the second one came out, everybody usually the second movie makes even more money because everybody's like anticipating the sequel, and they're
Right.
like like, oh man, the sequel's coming out. Like, we really want to see this in the theater because the first one was so good. So Shrek 2 budget was 150 million, so more than double the budget of the first movie. And the box office was $933.8 million. So it kind of doubled the profit as well. So I didn't realize it. It was the highest grossing movie of that year, which was like 2004 or something like that. So
That's
uh,
wild.
I think that tells you how successful Shrek was when you see Shrek 2 made that
Yeah.
much money, in my opinion. So that kind of, I looked that up just to go, this is how big this movie was, Shrek. It kind of made probably one of the biggest animated franchises, box office wise. I'm sure. I think the third and fourth movie probably didn't do as well, but still did well. I think they're all pretty successful overall. Um, and there's a fifth one. I know it's coming out. I don't know if that's next year. I know they're
June
working on it.
June of 2027.
20%. Okay.
Yeah.
So I bet it's been a while since the fourth movie. So they have quite a bit of a gap here.
Yeah.
But I would imagine the fifth one's going to make money for nostalgia reasons, if nothing else, would be my guess.
Yeah, because then you have like Cameron Diaz doesn't really act that much anymore,
No,
so
you're right.
people will be really excited
Mike
to
Myers
see her
doesn't
again.
either.
And Eddie Murphy really
And Eddie
doesn't.
Murphy doesn't really either.
Yeah, so that tells you right there that that will bring in people regardless.
Let's see. Perfect example. Obsession, yeah. Less than 1 million to make, made 400 million at the box
Yeah,
office. Yeah, that's been one of the most successes probably of this year. That
yeah,
and back rooms, I think, is
yeah.
like didn't spend any money on. Horror movies are good at that. Usually you
Yeah.
don't spend much money on them, but they can take off big.
That's why they
In
never
those
go away.
cases.
That's why there's so many of them released.
There's a lot of them, that's for
Yeah,
sure. Because I think this outdid Obsession. What was the? I'm trying to think what the big movie was. Um, what was the big? I don't think it was Super. Was it Supergirl or something else? It beat some of the big movies that came out during that same time.
I can't
Um,
remember it came out that one.
Obsession. And I'm trying to think what was the other big movie that came out. I'm losing track of what came out before Supergirl. I mean, maybe the Mandalorian Grogu that didn't make very much. I don't think either.
No.
And I think maybe that was the movie that was supposed to be the big movie that everybody was expecting to make money, and then Obsession just blew it out of the water. That's like
Yeah,
it's like, and they probably spent a lot of money on the Mandalorian Grogu movie. So that's the way not to make money is that, and the way to make money is Obsession. Yeah, that's what you want if you're a movie company, whatever.
totally.
um, Another good example is Godzilla minus one. Uh, that movie, they didn't spend a whole lot of money on that movie, and that movie made a bunch of money in the box office.
Yeah, it did.
um, so yeah, that's what you were aiming for. Let's see. When it comes to Shrek, I appreciate it a little more now. Yeah, I can see that. Um, as a teen, I liked it, but never gravitated towards it. Yeah. And talk a little bit about how did we get to Shrek? I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of Shrek, I guess here. Like I said, it was published in 1990 by William Steig. Um, it's interesting. The person that you have to really think about is actually Steven Spielberg. Um, he really was trying to get an animation all the way back in the 90s or 80s. I guess you go back to the 80s. Like I said, Disney was kind of the juggernaut of animation, obviously, for a long time. I mean, from 1937, whatever when Snow White came out, no one really could compete against Disney. And then one of the Disney animators broke off and made his own studio, Don Bluth Studios, and he was, I think Steven Spielberg was like producing those movies, and he ended up making a movie that actually did better than the Disney movie at the time, which was American Tail, which actually did better than the Black Cauldron, which was like a big box office bomb for Disney,
Yeah.
and almost like ended their studio because it was like they're like, oh man. But 80s was the kind of like this dark period at first, or for most of the 80s for Disney. I don't know what was going on, but they just weren't making the top quality movies. And maybe that's because, again, maybe because if you don't have competition, it's harder to make top quality movies. Once
That's
you have
true.
competition, that probably ups everybody's game.
Yeah.
um,
I was gonna say the market now is kind of because now Disney's bought up a lot of companies, so there's
yeah.
not as many animation movies coming out, each year. Like this year, there really hasn't been that many animation movies, but I
Yeah,
think next year there's supposed to be more. But
really.
you know, it's just a shame that a lot of the animation studios have kind of gone bankrupt, and Disney. You got Disney, DreamWorks, and I mean, there's only so many studios now. But
Illumination is kind of the big one now.
yeah,
Sony Animation's kind of big because of the Spider-Man movies and
right,
K-pop Demon Hunters and whatever. I think they put out Goat this year was theirs, but
yeah,
yeah, and so yeah, so it's interesting. Don Bluth came in. He made like three decent movies, like American Tail, The Land Before Time, and All Dogs Go to Heaven, which I saw all of those when I was a kid, and I was a big fan of the Don Bluth stuff. And then after that, he kind of didn't make another big one, and that studio kind of went down under in the '90s because they just started making bomb movies. Um, so it's like they started off strong, but then just couldn't stand the distance. I don't know what to say. Like Disney, which had stayed, great for a long time. Uh, and then Disney kind of upped their game because then they made Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King, and they just went back to being, yeah, they're the best animation studio. Steven Spielberg made his own animation studio in his company Amblin called Amblination, and in the early '90s or something like that. And he made like three movies, but they didn't make. One of them was a sequel to American Tail called American Tail: Five Goes West. And besides that, the other two movies like didn't do anything, so that didn't go very far. His animation studio. So obviously Spielberg was really like into animation, I guess. And so then in '94, he got together with Jeffrey Katzenberg and Dave Geffen, I think, something Geffen, and that makes the DreamWorks SKG, Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen. And they basically started the DreamWorks animation studio in '94. Katzenberg, of course, was a big producer for Disney for a lot of the big hits there. And I'm not sure what happened. He had some kind of falling out, I think, and so he left. And I think it's a big part of Shrek because we'll get to. There's a lot of Disney here in Shrek. A lot of making fun of Disney, if you notice. I think that's a lot due to Katzenberg being part of Disney. But yeah, so then they start DreamWorks in '94. And what's interesting, I didn't know Spielberg. He actually bought the rights to Shrek back in '91 before DreamWorks started, and it was going to make a 2D animation movie out of it, but it just never came about. I guess he never
mm,
was able to put together. Um, but then another guy named John H. Williams, who was a producer at DreamWorks, he kind of Spielberg. I didn't understand Spielberg bought the rights, but then I don't know if he didn't have the rights because then it says something about John H. Williams then got the rights for DreamWorks or something. So
mm,
but Spielberg already wanted the movie early on, so he was, on board. And then Katzenberg got on board too when he saw the potential of it, I guess. And they kind of was like, yeah, let's start making this movie. So like I said, that kind of started around '95, like just right when they made the. So it was one of their first ideas, even though it's actually like their third movie. So like I said, there's some issues I think maybe that happened that delayed it a little bit. Um, One interesting things is, do you remember who they first had do Shrek as a character?
oh, you mean the voice casting?
Yeah,
Uh, I remember somebody mentioning the name, but I don't remember. I can't remember now.
Chris Farley
Okay.
was cast first, and he actually did most of the movie. And I think on special features, maybe I don't know if, or maybe you go on YouTube, you can hear like some inserts of him doing dialogue on Shrek. Anyways, so Chris Farley, of course, was huge off of Saturday Night Live in the '90s. He then made Tommy Boy, which is I love Tommy Boy. It's one of my favorite comedies. But then he kind of just made one bomb movie after another after that, unfortunately. So he was kind of, I guess during '95, I guess, whenever this first started, he was still kind of on top before he made a bunch of bomb movies. And then because of all the bomb movies he made, I don't know, he did a lot of drugs and he was depressed and then he died of a drug
Mm,
overdose at age 33. And they I guess he completed a lot of it, but he didn't totally complete it, so they had to just scrap all his stuff, I guess, and start over again with
mm,
a new person. And I always think if Chris Farley could have survived and he could have lived and seen Shrek may be made, like that would have been a huge hit for Chris Farley, and maybe it would have. Who knows? Like I always think, man, what if? It's just it's
Yeah.
so sad that he died. And I think it didn't help that he was making all these bomb movies, and if he could have had a huge success under his belt, maybe that could have lifted his spirits. I don't know.
Yeah.
um, which kind of sad. But they get another Saturday Night Live guy, Mike Myers, right after that, who of course was coming off of Wayne's World 1 and 2. So he was a huge, kind of becoming a huge star at this point in the '90s. So yeah, that's how he got replaced. So I'm guessing once they replaced him, then they had to go back to doing all the dialogue again. Um, and it was interesting. Also, Mike Myers, he didn't do the Scottish accent at first. I think he did more of a Canadian accent or something like that. And he did like I think he did like the whole movie or something like that. But then afterwards, asked if he can do it again because I think he maybe found that Scottish, that Shrek Scottish accent, whatever.
Hmm.
Do it again, anyways. And so they allowed him to, which is crazy because that costs money to have to go back in the studio and probably do all that again. But then he went back and did the whole thing with the what we now know is the Shrek voice. And I think it's a big part of his character, though. That even that's I don't know why he's Scottish. He's just a fairy tale creature, but yet I don't know. It adds a lot to the character. I think the voice. I don't know. Can you imagine it with another voice?
No. Not at all.
So I think that's interesting because I was like, man, I can't imagine without that. And he does a good job with Scottish accents. He's done that in other movies like that, so it's kind of a go-to for him. But it's just like, oh, donkey, it just works so well.
Yeah.
With all that kind of stuff. Um, Anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting. But like I said, it didn't get put out until 2001, so I think they went through a lot trying to put this movie together. I think they went through different writers and directors and all that till they finally got it. Because then they end up making their first movie was Ants
Oh, okay.
in 1998. That was their first, and it was a computer graphic animation movie. So kind of going after what Pixar was doing. Like I said, Toy Story totally changed the game of animation. Where if you want to compete, you need to go away from 2D animation and start making the computer graphic animation. And so the first movie was Ants, which was a computer graphic animation. And the 1998, Pixar's second movie was A Bug's Life, which came out the same year. So it was so, and I remember this. I don't know if you remember this. You're young, but it was like we had two ant movies coming out the same year, uh,
Yeah. There's a feud. Like which one
which
was
is
the
so.
better one?
Who like I can't remember who had the idea first and who, and like it's like how did they both come up with a whole story about ants at the same time?
Yeah.
um, I thought that was crazy, but yeah. So Bugs Life and Ants coming out. So Bugs Life made $363 million in the box office. Ants made 171. So um, again, DreamWorks is trying to compete kind of with the Pixar Disney thing that's going on. But first thing didn't work as well. Ants, in fact, didn't. I thought it was okay. I remember I was younger and I haven't seen it in a while, but I thought it was an okay movie. I do think Bugs Life maybe is a little bit better overall. Ants was very jokey for sure. I think a little too jokey maybe. You had Woody Allen as the main doing his Woody Allen thing and all that, but
I was gonna say with
um,
ants, I think it was very controversial. I think there was some controversial
I think they even curse.
dialogue.
Did they even curse or yeah, you're
I
right.
believe so.
I
Yeah.
think they might have.
I watched it. I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, and I was watching. I was like, "Wow, I'm surprised they got away with some of the stuff they
Yes.
did."
Yes.
It was definitely controversial. And to credit, Bugs Life is my favorite Pixar movie. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So naturally, I like that over Ants.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, I would like to rewatch it at some point. But yeah, I remember it was very controversial, and I remember some of the dialogue. Yeah, definitely was just like, how did we get this greenlit? But
as a family film, yeah.
yeah,
um Also, that came out is it 98 was a very interesting year for animation because Pixar's put out Bugs Life, which was the biggest, like I said, 363 million. It had the biggest box office. Um, Also, DreamWorks also put out another movie that year called The Prince of Egypt, which was a 2D animation movie, which I really like. I have that movie on DVD, and of course, it's a off Moses and the Bible and all that. And I thought it was a pretty good adaptation with good music too. It won the Oscar for best song. Overall, good musical. Anyways, that made 218 million, so I did better than Ants. Um, and then we also had Mulan out of Disney, which is, I think, a really good movie. I'm a big fan of that movie as well, and that one made 304 million. So you could say Bug's Life and Mulan were the biggest ones. So Disney kind of won that battle in a sense. I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
this is like the first time that we've had different studios compete against each other. And DreamWorks first start, it's hard. You're just starting out. DreamWorks and Pixar is really going strong, even though this is like only Pixar's second movie. They're definitely on a roll at this point because they're gonna make Toy Story 2 after that, which is great as well. But anyway, so I thought that was interesting. So they made two movies. Now the third movie, 2001, is going to be Shrek. They're going to put that out. And like I said, they must have done a really good job marketing because I do remember that being like a big. Everybody was hyped up for that movie, from what I remember. So they definitely did a really good job with the marketing, I think, on Shrek, and people were excited for it and all that. Um, and it was again it's a really good year, 2001.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought that was interesting looking at like what else it was competing against. But like I said, Disney or sorry, Pixar put out Monsters Incorporated, which was another fantastic movie.
Yeah.
um, that made 579 million. I mean, it was a very huge success. It was third highest grossing movie that year. Um, Disney put out Atlantis: The Lost Empire, which made 186 million. So it's interesting because Atlantis is still a 2D animation. Disney Animation was still doing 2D at this point. They didn't
Hmm.
fully get into 3D yet, or the computer graphic animation. While DreamWorks and DreamWorks did a little 2D, but they're kind of after Shrek, I think they really kind of got onto the just doing computer graphic. And
Yeah.
Pixar, of course, that was their whole thing was being they never do 2D because that's not their thing. Their thing is computer graphics. That's the whole reason why they're there. Anyway, so you kind of see Disney animations kind of on the down low. They were doing really good, I think, with after yeah, Pocahontas in '95, and then after that, I think you had Hunchback of Notre Dame,
Mhm.
Hercules, um, Mulan, and then Tarzan, I think, and that was kind of the end of the renaissance of Disney. And after that, they kind of went down a little bit with Atlantis. Not a bad movie. It's just not as good as some of their big ones.
Mhm.
I think they also put out what's it called? Fantasia 2000. I thought was terrible. Um, personally, but I'm not a big fan of Fantasia either. Um,
Not me either.
they did put out a really good movie called Treasure Planet, which I think is actually a really good, underrated movie, in my opinion. But still, I don't think their movies were just doing as well. And Pixar kind of took over as the top animation studio. And with Shrek, DreamWorks was kind of putting themselves at the number two, or at least competing with Pixar for the first time. And I think that's very interesting. And that's what makes Shrek such an interesting movie, and what makes it why I put it in the game changer. Because this is the first time we're kind of getting competing animation, really good animation too. Like, and from here on out, I think animation is just getting better.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, with DreamWorks, Sky Blue was putting out Ice Age, which was a big hit, and Robots. I thought that was a pretty good movie. I think they eventually got bought out by Disney though.
They did.
um, so they didn't last, even though they had some successful movies. And then Illumination came on later on and had huge success with Despicable Me, Minions,
Yeah.
uh, and then recently Super Mario movies have made a bunch of money. So I think they're going to last a little bit longer.
Yeah. They're gonna keep going.
um, yeah, I think they're going to go pretty strong. Anyway, so I thought that was all kind of interesting to see like how Shrek kind of fit in and kind of it's DreamWorks' flagship you would say like Pixar's Toy Story's Pixar's like flagship movie. Shrek is DreamWorks. I mean, I think that's always going to be their biggest franchise.
It's kinda like what they were known by to really get into the industry to get their name out there, like, they had been around, but I think it's, like, their staple to be like, "Oh, yeah, DreamWorks, that's Shrek," you know what I mean? And
Exactly.
it's like Pixar, Toy Story, that's Pixar, so, like, it's kind of their staple to what their name is and why it is DreamWorks.
Exactly. Um, and this is where we're talking about Shrek. I think Shrek and what DreamWorks is doing here, it's a bit different than Disney. I know. Did you feel that way watching Shrek? Like the style, the humor is maybe a little bit different than what Disney was doing.
Oh, yeah, for sure, I mean, there's so many I mean, like you pointed out, there's a whole bunch of jokes that are aimed at Disney in here, and
Yes.
they do a lot of it. There's a lot of recognition to other movies in here that they make fun
Yeah.
of. So, I mean, I think that's what makes it really unique. And kind of at the time too, when Shrek came out, a lot of the references were very relevant to pop culture, what was going
Yeah.
on as well. So, that's what helped kind of make this movie what it is and why it is so popular. So, like I said, it was a fresh idea coming out. So, um, I love the humor of the movie in general. I think there's so many quotable lines in this movie,
Yes.
and I think a lot of times, we kind of get wrapped up in the main characters, but I think there's so many side characters in this movie, and not just this movie, but all four,
Yes.
where it makes the movie funny. Like, they don't even have to be in the movie the whole time, but, like, they make you laugh. Like, Pinocchio and Gingy, like, Gingy is, like, my favorite character. He's not even a main
Yeah.
character, but he's my freaking favorite character.
Oh
The
yeah.
gum button drop scene in here is so funny to me.
That's a great scene. Yeah.
So,
The torture scene of
yeah. What's funny about it too is because Lord Farquaad's so short too, where they have to lower the table for
yeah.
him and everything. So it's just really funny. Um, but yeah, like I said, there's so many side characters, and then what I like also too about this movie too is like there is a quote where Shrek talks about how ogres are like layers, and to
I was
me,
gonna I was gonna bring that up. I'm glad you're bringing it up.
so when he brings up that quote, it really, I think, relates to a lot of people
Yes.
because
Yes.
as in our personal life, we all have layers as people. Like we have a certain personality, or there's certain things that we like, and we may be seen a certain way to the outside eye, but when you get to really know us, we have all those layers. So I think like that line is super true to just our feelings in general, and just like our personalities, and just what we are as a person. So it's a perfect line, I think.
I was gonna bring that up as this movie is it can be very silly, very
Mm,
joke heavy, but then it has some well written dialogue. Like I was gonna mention that as one of them, so I'm
yeah,
glad you mentioned it. So we're on the same page, and that was one of the I think one of the best written dialogues that had some deeper level to it. I guess,
yeah,
which I think makes it even better than just being it's a funny movie, but yet it does have some well written parts. I think if that makes sense. Have some deep kind of meaning to it about yeah, like you said. Uh,
yeah, definitely. And then I would say like another good meaning is just like having Shrek as an ogre and Donkey as a donkey. I mean, like, it's the two most awkward pairing. Like, you
yeah.
would never expect them to pair up with each other. And, you know, I like throughout the movie, like in the beginning, Shrek, he's kind of groggy and just like, leave me alone. I have all these fairy tale creatures in my swamp. I want them out. But then he goes on this adventure with Donkey and Fiona, and he really changes as a person. Like, you really see his personality come out as a character, and like
Yes.
you see his change of heart, and he's having fun on this trip, and then obviously like the reveal with Fiona and everything and all that. It's just it's a great story. Like, it's a really good feel good
Hmm.
movie. Like, it makes you laugh. It's got the layers, but
Yeah.
then it also has like a good wrap up to the story. And the way that they did this movie, and they talked about this in the special features, I'm glad that they didn't reveal all its cards with like Fiona's backstory, because there was a bunch of deleted scenes that they did like storyboards on in the
Okay.
special
Yeah,
features. I don't know if you had that in yours, but uh,
probably. I can't remember.
they talked about a bunch of different scenes in there, and one of the scenes they had that they cut from the movie was just how she was kind of like in this predicament and how she got in the tower and all this other stuff. And they obviously saved that for later installments, and that was a genius move, because
Mhm.
even after this movie ends, there's a lot more you can do with the story and its characters. And I think like that's what makes a really good movie. Like, not only having the story that it has, the humor and everything, but realizing you have all these other characters and all these other things you can do with the world of Shrek and all these other characters. So I think that's what makes the movie just stand the test of time.
Exactly.
And why
Yeah.
we have had 4 movies.
I totally agree. That's what I was thinking too. Um, it was nominated for best adapted screenplay for an Oscar, which is I was kind of surprised by. I didn't realize I didn't remember that. I was like, wow. Toy Story was the first movie, animated movie to get nominated for best original screenplay. And theirs in '95. I'm sure this was the first time adapted screenplay, but the second time an animation movie got nominated for a screenplay, which tells you that they liked it even more than just a, like I said, silly joke movie, but actually had some like, deeper things to say about being who you are. And like, yeah, the whole ogre thing was, or the layers, the onion. And he's
Hmm.
like, cakes have layers, people like
Yeah.
cakes. And he says, well, not everybody likes me,
Yeah.
I'm more like an onion. That was kind of a nice, touch on on the character and all that. And then just the fact that at the end he doesn't turn into a handsome prince. The princess turns into to an ogre.
Right.
And but they're happy. They live happily ever after as ogres. And you're like, oh, that was an interesting twist, kind of, you weren't expecting. Um, I think that's what made it get nominated probably for an Oscar. I thought that was kind of that tells you, like, yeah, how good the movie was, I guess, in some
Yeah.
senses. That, I mean, just not by audiences, but critically and by the Academy and all that. Another significant thing, I guess, to say when I was just talking about that, it was the first movie to win the Oscar for Best Animated Movie. This was the first year they made that a category. It was 2001. So I think it's kind of cool that this was the first one to win a new Oscar category.
That's awesome.
Um, Again, it was competing against Monsters Incorporated, and it beat it out, which I thought was interesting because that was a really good movie too.
Yeah.
So curious that they picked Shrek over Monsters Incorporated. That's how, I guess, much they enjoyed it. The Academy themselves, and so and I think it's a good movie to win the first one.
Oh
It's kind of
yeah.
cool to be like, yeah, that was the first one. Like, I mean, obviously, because if they made it before, Disney would just win it every year, because nobody could compete against them.
Yeah.
And of course, Pixar would dominate the academy, that part for quite a while after that, because they put
Hmm.
out Finding Nemo and Incredibles and
Oh yeah.
Wall-E and Ratatouille, and they just, you know they were putting out some gangbusters. But definitely made DreamWorks like, wow, we won the first Oscar, for the category. Definitely put a lot, more into their. You can believe in their studio that they're going to make quality movies. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool, and that's another reason why this is kind of why I want to talk about this movie. Is a game changer in animation, because it is groundbreaking in the sense that it won the first Oscar for animation. It was nominated for adapted screenplay. Um, let's see. Well, it also won the BAFTA award for best. It won the British Academy Film and Television Awards. It won best screenplay for that. So it did win a major award for screenplay. Like I said, and then got nominated for the Oscar. I guess those only two Oscars, maybe. It won best animated film and was nominated for best adapted screenplay. So it's still pretty good because, as you know, animation doesn't get a lot of love in the Academy a lot of times.
That's true.
Unfortunately, I think it should get nominated like every year
Oh
because
yeah.
there's been some really good animated movies that haven't got nominated for other awards besides animation, of course. I think Mike has a question here. If Shrek wasn't a success, yeah, do you think DreamWorks would have gone bust or continued with the movies that were to come? Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, what came after Shrek? Do you know?
Well, there was a movie called Spirit, the or the something or some. It was this horse 2D animation
Yeah,
movie that came
remember
out.
that.
I didn't think it was very good, but I heard some people really like that movie, and I don't know that did anything in the box office wise. And then they did like Road to El Dorado, I think.
Okay.
Um, which again, I don't think it's like an okay movie. I don't remember doing much in the box office. Um, but then of course Shrek 2 came out, like I said, in 2004, and that was huge. Uh, I'm trying to think, and they also kind of were part of Chicken Run that came out in 2000, though that
Okay.
was Aardman Animation. They kind of helped distribute that one, which was a success. So they kind of dipping their hand in the stop motion animation as well in that sense. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the what else would come out at this time.
Well, to answer Mike's question, I would probably say yeah, they probably would have went bust because only by the movies that you're
Yes.
telling me that they had after, because none of those were really strong movies. I don't, to be honest with you, I don't remember Road to El Dorado really at all. I don't know anybody that talks about it. And
Okay.
Spirit, I remember they made a sequel to, but I don't know if it
Yeah,
was
recently.
I don't know if it was that successful or nowhere near the magnitude of what Shrek was. That's for sure. So to answer your question, Mike, I would say yeah, they probably would have went bust if Shrek failed.
Okay. Well, The Road to El Dorado came out in 2000, evidently. I guess I didn't know that.
Okay,
And Joseph King of Dreams, which I've never seen that movie.
don't know what that is.
That might have been straight to video, maybe or something. But yeah, Spirit Stallion and Cimarron came out. Then Sinbad, Legend of Seven Seas, which I've never seen,
I haven't
and
seen that either.
that was a 2D animated movie. And looking at the meta scores, they're not very good meta scores. Then Shrek 2, which was huge, came out.
Mm,
Then Shark Tale, which I don't think did very well, but
mm-mm.
um, then Madagascar, which was successful, I think.
Yep.
Then Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were Rabbit, which also won the Oscar for Best Animated Film.
Mm-hmm.
Then Over the Hedge, which I really like. Over the Hedge, I think it's an
That is a good
underrated
movie.
movie. Flushed Away,
I've never seen that.
it's okay. Then Shrek the Third, then
So they're
B
riding off of
movie,
Shrek, really.
yeah, B movie, and Kung Fu Panda, which I love Kung Fu Panda.
It's probably their next big series. Yeah,
Yes,
besides
Madagascar, and then Kung
Madagascar.
Fu Panda.
Yeah,
Because then you get Madagascar, Escape to Africa after that,
yeah. There you go.
and 2010 you get How to Train Your Dragon. So that's kind of the to me. There's like three
Okay.
big franchises. I think Shrek, Madagascar. Well, no, four. Sorry, Shrek, Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda, and How to Train Your Dragon. Kind of been the four big ones.
Yeah,
So that's all in the first 10 years or so of the 2000s, I guess. So I mean, not all of them did well, but you got some big hitters there. To answer your question, I agree. I think if this movie didn't do very well, that would have been not good for DreamWorks.
yeah. They've
Because
been in trouble.
if they made this and then Spirit came out and that didn't do well, and then Sinbad didn't do well, and, uh, if you put too many bad movies together, that could uh, early on, especially early on in your company, that could really torpedo you. I think
Yeah, tarnish your
so.
finances.
So you might be right. Shrek might have saved the studio. I wonder, in some senses, or help save it. See. Yes. I'm gonna say that first sequence with that song is so good. I think about that all the time. Anytime I think about Shrek, I just think about the somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed.
Rest in
Uh,
peace to the singer.
Huge hit for Smash Mouth, their biggest hit probably they came out, which is interesting. They were just a band that was kind of shortly lived at that time,
Yep.
and had that they had a couple of hits, and that was their big one was the All Star, which man, it's such a catchy song. Which kind of goes well. A couple things I talk about the movie. That's one of the things I want to talk about. Um, but what we talked about before, I think it makes this movie so interesting is that it's really parodying the Disney formula, I think, and fairy tales. Of course, it's all about fairy, which is what makes the movie so interesting. Like you mentioned, Pinocchio. I
Yep.
can't believe Pinocchio is in here. That's a Disney character. How did they get away with Pinocchio?
Yeah.
Um, I think that's so funny. You also have the one scene where they have all the magical creatures, whatever. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure I saw like the seven dwarfs in there
Yep. They're blind
walking.
mice.
Uh, Three Blind Mice. It's even funny that Pinocchio gets sold by his dad, Geppetto. It's like
Yep.
I didn't catch that until I was watching it yesterday, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Geppetto! That's supposed to be his boy. He sold." Like that's kind of that's messed up.
Actually, like interesting fact, a lot of the people that did the storyboards for the Shrek movie, they did a lot of the extra voices for the characters, like the side
Yeah.
characters, like Pinocchio and
The Three
you
Little
know,
Pigs.
Three Little,
Uh,
yeah, all them. So they all kind of did additional voices. So I thought that was really cool that they had a piece just in the movie in general. So I thought that was really cool.
you had some wicked witches flying around. I'm sure that was like a
Yep.
Disney thing. They had the three fairies, I think, from Sleeping Beauty. I saw in there.
Yep.
You have the magical mirror from Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was very funny how they're like using all these Disney kind of and other fairy tales. But Pinocchio, I know I saw Pinocchio and Tinkerbell in there.
Yeah.
So that was kind of crazy. But that's what makes it so interesting is like it's taking all this Disney stuff and even it seems like it's taking the princess story that Disney is popular about. This is kind of a princess story with Princess Fiona. But yeah, it's to me it turns the whole story on its head and instead of having usually it's the princess falls in love with the handsome prince or something like that.
Yeah.
But this one, what makes it so interesting is putting an ogre in the title or in the main character who's not your handsome prince.
Yep.
Nobody likes the ogre. All the humans are scared of the ogres. You see that at the beginning of the movie when they try to the village tries to attack him and he kind of scares them away
Yeah.
and he's kind of somewhat at the beginning, like I think you mentioned this, he's kind of somewhat supposed to be somewhat of an unlikable character, I think,
Yeah.
because he's super grouchy.
Yep.
He's mean to Donkey. I mean, he's kind of mean all the time, but uh, he's not a nice ogre in a sense. But then he becomes likable as the movie goes on. And I think it helps that it's Mike Myers doing the voice and everything. It's hard not to like him in a sense, and I think it's very interesting to pick. And maybe there's a reason why they kind of did this movie is to go, okay, the Disney story and I mean the princess story in the Disney movies, but we're gonna give you something different, a parody almost of that. I don't know if you felt that way.
Yeah. I mean, I um I just think the way that they structure his character, like we kind of go back onto the layers aspect, like, yeah, he's a groggy character, but the
Yeah,
way that they develop his character throughout the movie, it does peel off those layers and show that he can be
yeah,
funny. He's got a loving heart. He just wants people to
yeah,
like him for who he is. And the reason why he's so grouchy is because people look at him and they're
yeah,
afraid and they want to bring out
yeah,
their pitchforks and kill him. So it's like, you see him kind of break those emotions and kind of, it makes you have sympathy for him as kind of like the movie goes along because he does have more to him than just being this groggy old guy that just doesn't want anybody on his land and wants to be left alone. But he's like that because of how people perceive
yeah.
him from the outside versus to actually getting to know him. And he makes he
Exactly.
makes he makes a line in the movie where he says, everybody looks at me as a big, stupid, ugly ogre. Run, get your pitchforks. Then he has a talk with Donkey, and he says, they judge me before they even get to know me. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's a real pivotal scene into just knowing like he's more than just what people perceive him as. So it's just a great movie in the writing of just
yeah.
just the character work.
I agree. That's what kind of makes the movie so interesting is just the character itself and how they develop. The character develops and changes over. We call that character arc. It's a good character
Yeah,
arc for the character. Um, let's see. Hope you're doing, yeah, doing well.
hope you're
Thank you,
doing well
Jackson.
too, Jackson.
Thank you for chiming in. Appreciate you guys in the comments. I think this another thing I want to talk about is a little bit and see what you think is I feel like this movie was a little edgier compared to Pixar and Disney.
Oh yeah,
I
there's a
think that's
few.
what makes it interesting too. I don't know if you felt that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. There's a few choice adult words in the movie too. If you remember in some of the scenes, um, there's a point where him and Donkey are fighting, and he calls him a stubborn jackass.
Yeah, that's right. He does call him Jack.
Calls him a jackass.
He does. Yeah.
There's a point in the movie where he's saving Fiona and he hasn't slayed the dragon yet. And she goes, "You haven't slayed the dragon?" He goes, "Well, I have to save my ass."
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say my talking about the donkey.
So, yeah, it is super edgy and just his personality throughout. Like we talk about his changing of personality and his layers. Yeah, he has a real edgy personality at times. He can be very witty in his personality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's just edgy in general for making fun of Disney. Like, it's
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
that Disney didn't
I know.
retaliate a little bit and maybe put a little flavor back into it and punch back. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a genius of just an idea in general.
Yeah, I think it kind of establishes something at the very beginning of the movie. Like he comes out of an outhouse, and right away, I think you're like, "Oh my gosh, an outhouse!" Like that's not something you see in Disney.
Yeah,
Yeah. So to me, that's. I mean, it's not. I say edgy. It's not super edgy. Obviously, it's still a family film that
yeah,
can be enjoyed by kids and all that. Though I do remember some Christians here. I'm a Christian, so I hang out with Christian groups and like that. I do remember some Christians being a little bit like, "Oh, I don't know about this movie," and and stuff like
yeah,
that. I'm like, "Oh man, just have fun, you know." But uh, but yeah, and the whole first scene like doing that, and then he's like bathing, kind of naked in mud, and it's
yep,
like I said, it's not super edgy, but yet just slightly more edgier than I think what Disney would do, which I think makes it. That's what makes DreamWorks a little bit different than Disney and makes it a good competitor. I think is you get something a little different uh, with this, and I think that influences movies to come. I think that kind of gave license. I think other movies maybe in the future to maybe try to be slightly more edgier as well. So I think that in that way it kind of influenced other movies. Um, the other scene that shocks me the most actually is and it kind of goes with Disney, I guess, is they go to this I forget the name the place they go to where Lord Farquaad is his castle
Duloc,
Duloc.
yeah.
They go to Duloc and it's kind of like they're going to Disney World or something like that. I've never been to Disney World. I don't know if you have. You're in
Oh
Florida.
yeah, several times.
Yeah, he goes in and it's like there's a guy with a big head, as Lord Farquaad head, like I don't know,
Yep,
like a character, and they have the what do you call it, the ropes, and he has to go through the
yeah,
ropes, and there's the thing that turns, so it's like amusement park, like
yeah,
so I'm sure they're making fun of Disney just doing that, and even when he walks in, it's almost like you're walking into Disney or something. I think they're kind of poking fun at Disney or something with that, but they come across this information booth, and it's these little figurines telling you, giving you a song about the town
yep.
and like how to, there's some rules of this town, and you probably know what I'm talking about,
Oh
but
yes.
I'm still shocked when I watched it the other day, just like how they got away with something about like keep your shoes off the grass, something something, wipe your face.
Face.
Oh my gosh, that's on the line. I think of almost being too much for a kids film.
Yeah, it's edgy. Gives it attitude for sure.
Gives it attitude. That's a good way to put it. I think it does give it a lot more attitude than
Yeah.
you would normally get. It's funny, but I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so that's one more edgy. Even the princess, I was thinking about the princess itself. There's a scene where she's like singing to the birds, and that's a Disney princess thing,
Yep.
Snow White sings to the animals, come along, she's like in the forest singing to this bird, but she's hitting like such a high note or something, or such a I don't know if it's a high note, if it's a bad
Yeah,
note. The bird's like trying to keep
keep
up with
up.
it, I guess, and it blows up.
Yeah,
And I
it's
remember
pretty
being
funny.
shocked in the movie theater. I remember when that happened. I'm like, what? I was not, I was not expecting the bird to blow up.
Yeah,
um, Not only does it blow up, but she takes the three eggs and cooks them.
I remember.
So to me, that's a little bit of a dark humor that they throw in. I'm like, wow, okay, that's different. I don't think you expect that out of a Disney movie. So
Yep.
I think in Disney, like the darkest thing about Disney is, well, there's been some dark stuff in Disney, I suppose, like Hunchback of Notre Dame. There's some dark stuff there. But it's usually parents die, and those are some sad moments. Bambi's mother gets killed, or whatever. So they do have those moments in Disney, but yet this is different, I think, than even
Oh
that.
yeah.
Because this is for humor's sake, and that's for more dramatic moments. But I think Shrek is doing it for humor.
Oh yeah.
um, Again, so interesting. As well. And I just think it's more. I think it's a little more. It's very funny, and the Disney movies are funny. Pixar movies are funny, but yet this is more of a. I don't know. It throws almost more jokes at you.
Yeah.
I think, and more pop culture references
Yep.
and stuff like that. And I think that was different. And again, I think that was definitely influential in animation to come.
I definitely agree. I mean, the music in here, because we kind of talked about the soundtrack. I was
Yes,
gonna
the
say
soundtrack.
there's a part in the movie that I really like where I think was unexpected to everyone. Where how you mentioned earlier about how like it's the classic tale of the prince and the princess getting rescued and everything. But there's a point in this movie where they're going through the forest and they're talking about settling down for the night. Before they get to that point, you have Robin Hood and his gang coming up and trying to kidnap her, but she has all these kung fu moves and
Yeah.
beats the crap out of him. I don't think anybody expected that, from her. So, I don't know. I just like that they not only changed everything up, but they make something so unique out of that, and just like um I don't know the right word for it, but just like the way that they capitalized on just the princess character and kind of how they developed her character throughout too. Um, it was just something really cool. There's no way, like it made her feel like a character that isn't just like
Mm,
this. Oh, just rescue me.
right. Yeah, much
She's
different princess.
much different princess. So I think that's also too what makes it
Yeah.
a classic for I would call it a classic for
Yeah.
DreamWorks. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and that whole scene, I think they said that it was kind of a parody of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I thought Matrix maybe, but they because she does a whole like stop in midair as the
Yep,
camera
and
pans
kicks them
around
both.
and then kicks them, and it's like
Yeah.
so it definitely was. They're trying to make some references to other movies in this
Oh
movie,
yeah.
which I thought was funny. Um, and like I said, just so much good dialogue. I mean, Eddie Murphy is just. I don't know how much is that written, how much is that's just him, just because it's so fast paced. His donkey character, you
Mm.
know, and you got stuff like I'm making waffles. I don't know if that's this movie. Is that movie? That might
Yep.
be the second movie. I can't remember. I'm making waffles or something like that.
Yep.
That's one everybody that everybody talks about. Um, but yeah, you might have seen a house fly. You might have seen, but you never seen a donkey fly. He just fast paced, which is, I mean, Eddie Murphy was so good, I think, in this role,
Oh yeah.
and maybe his most, at least in the last 25 years, most iconic role that he's done. Um, and he even sings in it, which is a very Eddie Murphy thing. Again, I like the kind of Disney would write great like Broadway. I've always felt like Disney they really with Little Mermaid on they got to this like Broadway style of singing and they write these really big epic score songs You know,
Mhm.
Pixar didn't do that as much. They kind of didn't do as much. I mean, they had some music like "You Got a Friend in Me" and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but this movie, he's singing Elvis. You gotta have a little tenderness in here, I think. And then "On the Road Again" is
Yep.
a Willie Nelson song. He's on the road. Yes, um, and then the best one, of course, is like "I'm a Believer" at the very end. He sings. It kind of ends with him singing "I'm a Believer," a monkey song, you know, uh, which I believe Smash Mouth made into a hit song as well, kind of as a cover song. But so I do love I think that was very interesting that them throwing out these different songs, real songs, in there. And again, we see that a lot more today. I think a lot of animation has that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Throwing out pop songs and stuff like that, and especially with like an action sequence, and then you throw in a pop song, you know, to kind of go with it. Is very popular today. So I don't know. I feel like that's something that this movie kind of influenced as well.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
the music, the pop culture references, all that. Anyways, it's very interesting. Um, to talk about a little bit more about about the movie. In 2020, the Library of Congress selected Shrek to be preserved in the National Film Registry, which is, you know, you do that for all kind of serious films. So that's always kind of a big deal. AFI named it one of the top 10 movies of the year, which what didn't they didn't nominate very many, or they didn't put many anime movies in their top 10. So, or they did a top 10 animation movies like all
Mhm.
time, and it was number 8 in the top 10. So it was the only DreamWorks movie to make in the top 10. All the other movies were Disney movies and Pixar
Okay.
movies. So it's the one movie. I think it's the one. And again, I would say I'm maybe a bigger fan of Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon, but Shrek is definitely like the one I think is gonna, I don't know, be talked about the most, or the one remembered the most out of
Yeah.
DreamWorks. Just because it was the first one, it was kind of the first big hit, and kind of really made them who they are today. Um, Rotten Tomatoes said, while simultaneously embracing and subverting fairy tales, their irreverent Shrek also manages to tweak Disney's nose, provide a moral message to children, and offer views of funny, fast-paced ride. I thought that was pretty good. Kind of what we're talking about. Kind of summarizes why it's so big. Roger Ebert gave 4 out of 4 stars when it came out, and said it was jolly and wicked, filled with sly and jokes, and yet somehow possesses heart. Again, I think that's what's so cool about this movie. It's funny, but yet it has some heart in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think without the heart, it wouldn't be as big. It'd be funny, but you wouldn't have the lasting. I think maybe that does, because uh, especially that last scene. I think as well. You know, it was a really cool last scene at the chapel, whatever. Um, I should also mention Lord Farquaad. I think is supposed to be designed after Michael Eisner, the CEO of Disney.
Oh, okay.
I think
Yeah, I
that's
know that.
another.
I was gonna say they went through a lot of design changes with him as well, and how they were gonna have him, and then they decided on him being short in the
which
end.
which is very funny. The whole
Yeah.
short jokes and stuff like that, kind of so to say, throughout the
Yeah.
movie. And John Lithgow does a great job as the villain. Kind
Yeah, he's great.
in fact, one of my favorite lines of the movie, and I see this all the time, when it comes to work, is like your work is like, and it has like his face and him saying the some of you will die on this quest, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. And it's
Yeah,
like, and everybody cheers, and it's like, oh, it's such a good line, because you always
it
feel that
really
way
is.
when there's bad weather outside, and your work still wants you to try to risk your life to get to work, you know, and you're thinking, geez Louise,
Yeah.
like they don't care if I die going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
And anyways, I always thought that was one of the best lines in the movie. Um, see, Jamie Bernard of the New York Daily News says the brilliance of the voice work, script, direction, and animation all serve to make Shrek an adorable, infectious work of true sophistication. Um, yeah, again, really great job on casting. I think casting was really. Uh, I mean, I don't know if it would make or break your movie, but definitely elevates it. And
I
a
mean, I
lot of
think if you
them,
change it, I was gonna say if you do change it, I think you may not have maybe as an iconic of a movie.
right? It wouldn't be as
You know,
iconic. Like I said,
yeah,
The Shrek voice, I think, really, I can't imagine without that Shrek voice.
yeah,
Uh, it's crazy to think Chris Farley would have done it, but he wouldn't have put much of a. It didn't sound like from what I heard. Yeah, he wouldn't. He didn't really put much of an accent of any kind on it.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, to have that donkey and,
yeah.
and all that, it's so great. Also, a lot of them, a lot of what I've read, a lot of accolades for Eddie Murphy. I know we mentioned Eddie Murphy already, but
Hmm.
uh, he was nominated for a BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor for this role. Um, and the Annie Awards, which is the animation awards that they also give out, it won like 8 awards. It like dominated the Annies that year. Won like best, I think, Annie picture or something like that, and won Best Supporting Actor for Eddie Murphy as well.
Hmm.
Um, so as I mentioned, Eddie Murphy kind of steals the show. You said I don't know. I think he's probably most people's favorite character. um, I know you said what the Gingerbread Man was yours, or
I love the gingerbread man. I mean, I know he doesn't have a lot of lines, but I mean, I can do his voice, so
is that high pitched?
yeah.
Uh,
Not the gumdrop
You're a monster.
buttons.
Like,
Do
um,
you know the Muffin
oh
Man?
yeah, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man,
The Muffin Man.
the
Well,
one on
she's
Drury Lane,
married to the Muffin Man.
the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man.
Muffin Man. Yeah, it's great. And even in the other movies, he's always got some line
I
that
think
just cracks me up.
because he has a bigger role in the other movies, and yeah,
He
he's
does.
I do like I like Pinocchio and Gingerbread Man especially. They get bigger lines in the bigger parts in the next movies.
Yeah,
And
there's it's not in this movie, but there's a movie I can't remember if it was the second or third, but there's a point where like he lies and his nose keeps growing and
yes,
everything. It just cracks me up every time.
oh, it's such a great use of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the third movie, my favorite line is Gingerbread Man. They're watching this dinner theater thing, and when he goes, "I hate dinner theater." Me too. Whoop. Like he's lying. It's like,
Yeah,
why would you lie?
he's just a great character. I really hope he's in the fifth movie. I hope he's got
Oh,
something good.
definitely. See, in 2006, it was ranked third on Bravo's 100 Funniest Films. So that just goes to show how funny the movie is, I think, and how much people like it. Um, Shrek was awarded a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2010. So the character got his own star. That's how popular.
Nice.
I didn't know they did that for characters. I guess I knew they did it for
No,
actors, but
I didn't know that either.
I guess it shows how popular the character was. He got his own star now. Um, the New York Times describes Shrek as a beloved offbeat fairy tale whose characters and jokes continue to permeate pop culture, reaching another generation of fans. Which I'll ask. I mean, you have a son, I believe, and is this a movie you show your son?
Yeah, I've definitely showed it to him before, and I know that he's really liked it. So, um, I've always tried to kind of instill different kid movies and different kinds of movies in general. So, but yeah, I know that he does like it. He knows about it. So it's cool that, it can just keep living on and it still has its
Yeah,
popularity.
yeah. I think it'd be one that each generation will enjoy. I
Yeah.
would think. I think it still has that lasting impact. Like I said, it's one of those movies where kids and adults can enjoy it. I think as
Yeah.
well. I was like I said, I was like a senior, so I was kind of bridging the kid to adult gap at that point. I was
Hmm.
18. I was 18, so I was kind of an adult, I guess, at that time.
Right.
Or I was, yeah, it's about 18, somewhere around there. Uh, but yeah. Yeah, and I guess I'll just end on, or kind of end on, from what I'm researching on Wikipedia, anyways, it says it inspired other movies to spoof fairy tales. or other related stories genres like Happy and Ever After, Hoodwinked, and Enchanted. They kind of mentioned, anyways,
Yep.
which I think is interesting. Yeah, other have tried to do the same. Take the, which I think is an interesting thing to do is take a fairy tale and kind of make a spoof of it.
Yep.
The funny idea, and Shrek kind of does that in a sense with in the sequels. They take different fairy tales and stuff, and I like that. The different villains are kind of different fairy tale type
Oh yeah.
characters, and if from I'm trying to from I remember, I know it's like the fairy godmother and Prince Charming and
Yep.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yep.
I think it's good use of all those characters. Um, I don't know about Happy Ever After. I wasn't familiar with. Hoodwinked is a Red Riding Hood kind of
Yep.
spoof movie, which is decent. I remember seeing that in the theater. I thought that was kind of a funny movie.
I don't
Uh,
think I've seen it.
then Enchanted, I'm guessing that's the Amy Adams movie, which again kind of spoofs the whole princess story, kind of where her going from the fantasy world into the real world and how it's
Yep.
different and stuff like that. Anyway, so yeah, so we kind of see that inspiring. Anyway, so um, but yeah, I think that's all I really have for the movie. I guess my main takeaway, and I guess if you give me your main takeaway, maybe is my main takeaway is just that it was the first movie to really uh, compete against Disney, and I think it really upped animation overall because of that. And I think it was just a little more edgier and more humorous, maybe than what you would see out of the Disney stuff. I think that was very influential to animation as well, and just the pop culture references to other movies and the music was also, I think, what I would put into why this was a game changer. Um, I don't know what do you think? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it competed against Disney. It is an edgy movie that has attitude. It has love, it's got humor, it's got a well-paced movie, it's not too
Hmm,
long,
hmm. Yeah.
it's got groundbreaking animation. There's a lot of um, things that it makes fun of in the classic Disney movies and flips it and turns it around. It's got a great soundtrack, and there's, like you said, there's like a lot of pop artists in here. I know you didn't mention them, but Baha Man also is in this too. Like Who Let the Dogs Out? That was like a big
Yeah.
hit song. And I think
The
it's Best Days
Baja.
of Our Lives as well. So like
Okay.
this helped launch some of those pop artist careers, and like you mentioned, Smash Mouth with
Hmm.
All Star. So I really think it proves that having those pop songs referenced in this movie, that it can work in an animation movie. And like you said, it was a stepping stone to other kids movies having those songs in their movies as well. Um, and they go even crazier with other classic songs as the movies go along as well. So, um,
Yeah.
the formula works, and it
Yeah.
continues to work throughout the four movies. So, um, like I said, there's so much with this movie to where it was a simplistic movie enough, like as far as plot and what it was going for, but it also opened up a world. It's almost like having like a starter video game and you explore into a certain world and you want to explore more into that world, and they did a really good job of making it and setting it up to where you can, like, sometimes when you watch a kid movie you're like, oh, why does it need like a second and third movie? But I feel like with this
Hmm.
franchise, with each movie, it's like, oh man, like they can explore other things with this character, or they could add other, D Disney fairy tale creatures and do something with them, and, like, there's other villains and stuff they can deal with, and, um, I think that's what's great about the franchise is even though it's a good standalone movie, it's a good franchise that kept remaining interesting throughout each adaptation, and they still kept with the humor like it's had, still, you know, uh, the great voice acting, the great animation, and improving it each time. and I just think overall capitalizing really good on the message and then allowing it to continue. So that's to me why it's classic.
Yeah, very well said. I forgot to mention I got the this is the
Both got it.
anniversary edition with all four movies, and
Yep.
you got the 4K. I think you told me.
Yep. I like the artwork a little bit better on this one just because it's got
Yeah,
like more of the other characters. And then
I
there's the
like it.
back of it. It's got
Yeah,
a
it's got
lot of
big.
it. Yeah. I think
The only
mine's
thing we're
all.
missing out of this movie is Puss in Boots, which is a great character.
Yeah, I have those as well. These are my discs, what they look like. There's that one.
Okay.
Um this is the extra Blu-ray disc that has a lot of the features, the second film. Then there's the third and fourth, and it's got the disc art with Puss on there, and then
Okay.
Gingy's on this one. So it's a cool set. I really like it. I really like the artwork for this. So
Yeah, I was
and
glad I
that's
got them all four in one package, so I can.
yeah, same here. And
Kind of
it's
nice.
they have actually a lot of iterations of like the packaging for the Shrek movies. That's the thing. They still sell like the DVD package and
Yeah,
everything still
yeah,
in Walmart and stuff. So you know that it's
yeah.
selling. They
Still
constantly
selling.
do reiterations. So you know it's a well sold movie and people still buy it.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on and talking about Shrek with me. I enjoyed that a lot, and uh, yeah, I always enjoy your views, and definitely check out Real Talks with Ryan as he reviews movies, a lot of movies, and does physical media, kind of what he bought for the month and
Oh
all
yeah.
that. Anyway, so yeah, great channel and a good friend. So thank you, Ryan.
And thank you for
And
having me on.
you're welcome. Thanks to everybody commenting there. Mike and Jackson, I think, were in there. Appreciate you guys. And everybody comment, what do you think about Shrek, I guess? And it's it's a game changer in the industry as I'm doing this series, anyways. And hopefully you agree with me and Ryan on that, anyway. So besides that, thank you so much. And I hope you have I guess, a great weekend as the weekend's coming up. And we'll talk to you later.
Peace.